purpose of today's video is to show you how to build a cover clamp frame on a sailboat. We'll explain it from start to finish, how to put a perimeter tubing, and how all the parts are used. This is basically what a cover clamp kit consists of. We have the K600 clamp, which is used to connect the tubings. We have the couplings, which connects tubings end to end. We have rubber tips, which protect the deck. Slide locks, which are used on the vertical support. End plugs to seal the ends of the tubing. Protection pads to used at the intersection where the vertical support meets the ridge pole, that's to protect the cover. And then the color code system, which is used to label each piece so you'll know exactly where it goes by color and number. It makes it very easy to put it together each year. The tools needed to complete a cover clamp frame are a ruler and a pencil, a tubing cutter, a nut driver, and a screwdriver. Some of the parts you'll receive in your cover clamp kit are couplings and slide locks. This is a double coupling, this is a single coupling, and this is a slide lock. The difference between couplings and slide locks have no restriction in the center, as these two do. This will slide down the tubing, where these will only slide over the end of the tubing. They're used in different locations for different purposes. They also take different size screwdrivers. On a double coupling, we use a number 3 Phillips screwdriver. It fits these screws perfectly. We want to tighten this onto the tubing good and snug. We don't want to go to the point where you're so tight that you're going to crush the tubing. Number 3 Phillips screwdriver for a double coupling. On a single coupling, we use a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. It's a little smaller screw. The number 2 fits it well. We also use, on a slide lock, you can use a number 2 Phillips screwdriver also. If you want, you can even use a straight slot. The way the screw is made, it'll take a regular slotted screwdriver. You can use it that way. I kind of like the Phillips because it holds the screwdriver in place on the screw. Cover clamp parts are made specifically for this purpose, for a frame system. These are not regular EMT couplings, and this is not a regular chair leg. Our couplings are all welded seam, high strength couplings. If you look inside, you can see there's a welded seam in there. Both the single and the double couplings are made this way. These are extra strong. These are not just EMT couplings. These are made specifically for the purpose of building a frame. EMT couplings are not made that way. They won't take the stress and the strain that these couplings will. The rubber tips have a molded in metal insert in the bottom so that the tubing, when the weight of the ice and snow and frame is on this rubber tip, it won't punch through and damage your deck. All our rubber tips have that insert built into them. Also, you'll need to tighten the clamps a 1/2-inch nut driver. You can also take and put the blade of the nut driver into your battery drill and use this to tighten the clamps. This makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker, especially for a reassembly. You'll also need a 1/2-inch deep wall socket. We use this for the final tightening of the clamps, just to snug them down a little tighter. Also, a knife or a razor knife comes in handy to cut the strapping that we use to hold the frame cross-tied side to side, and also we use that strapping on our covers. In the video, you'll see us making bends in tubing. The bend that we use the most is a 60-degree bend, and the way we make that is we use a tubing bender. The way we make that bend is we take our tubing bender, place it on the tubing. We've marked this tubing at center point because if you're going to make a rib and you're using a 10-foot piece of tubing, you'll mark it at the 5-foot mark, which we show you in the video, and then you'll install the tubing bender with the line lined up with the star on the bender, and then you'll make the bend. We step on the tubing bender as we're going to make the bend, and we're going to bend this to 60 degrees. Now, the way we determine 60 degrees, on the side of the bender, there are lines. You'll see 30, 45, 60. When that line is parallel to the ground, that's a 60-degree bend. And that's what we want from most all our ribs and rib legs. All right, first we have the K600 clamp. There's 5 in a bag on a kit, and on the back it shows you how to put it together. There's 2 halves, an A and B, a rubber insert, a bolt, a nut, and a washer. In fact, I'll show you how to do it. It's very simple. All right, first we take part A and the bolt. We're going to put the bolt through part A. Then we have the rubber insert, which slides over the bolt, like so. Then we have part B, goes on last. And then we have a washer and a nut. Just screw it on so it's flush with the end of the bolt, because you'll need that plate to install it on the tubing, and then you'll tighten it up. That's how you assemble the K600 clamp. One of the things you have to do when building a cover clamp frame is to cut the end, the factory end, off the tubing. It will not lock our end plug in place because it's a little larger than what it should be. But when you cut this tubing, it will lock in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to take like an 1/8 inch off the end of the tubing with the tubing cutter, and that will work fine. As we go around, we're just tightening the handle. Once we've cut the tubing, we're going to ream it with the reamer that's built into the tubing cutter. Basically just put it in, rotate it back and forth, and it just opens that up, takes the sharp edge off. Once we've done that, we're going to install the red end plug and tap it in. It's nice and snug, it'll stay in there, and that seals the end of the tubing. Every piece of tubing in the frame should have a red end plug in it.